me. Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers, by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Bajo. It's been the RTS of choice for millions of gamers around the world for going on 12 years now, StarCraft, but it finally gets a massive number 2.
And this. Yep, it's mildly more interesting than watching paint dry. Disciples 3 Renaissance.
Get excited for that one. Also, Alien Swam. It's a free download, but is it worth the megabytes?
And lots more other stuffs too. But first, can you guess the game for this week?
I love other stuffs!
Ship ahoy, sir!
A Spanish pinnace outsailed and boarded my undermanned bark Naiad, and I lost my ship, my crew, my cargo, and my freedom.
News time.
Good game!
Too slow, I'm already here. Having already launched the digital download portal Steam for the Mac, Valve is now embarking on a new initiative to make developing games easier on Apple computers. By releasing key components of its graphics technology to Mac developers, Valve hopes to open up a whole new market sector to the joys of hardcore gaming. There's a catch, of course. Valve will only share its graphics code with developers that agree to use the Steamworks community infrastructure. Yet the potential payoff is huge. Mac gaming sales have reportedly surged since the Steam portal launched for the platform. Richard Garriott, aka Lord British, the creator of the Ultima series, has won his court battle with publisher NCSoft. Garriott produced the MMO Tabula Rasa for NCSoft, and the Korean online gaming company gave him the sack when the game bombed. This proved inconvenient for Garriott because he was then forced to sell all of his stock options in NCSoft in 2008, during the biggest stock market downturn in decades. Yet, under the terms of his employment agreement, Garriott was supposed to be allowed up to 10 years to sell. To compensate Garriott, a Texas court has awarded him over $30 million in damages. Blizzard may have abandoned plans to force forum users to use their real names online, but the government of the People's Republic of China think it's a good idea. From the beginning of this month, all Chinese internet users are being forced to register their real names before playing online games. This covers everything from mainstream games like WoW, all the way through to casual novelties like Farmville. The regulation was handed down by the Chinese Ministry of Culture in an effort to protect minors from online abuse. With the launch of Halo Reach, Bungie will be implementing a system that gamers have been praying for years, a technology to stop rage quitting. Rage quitting is one of the most annoying blights upon the online landscape, when those who can't face up to a losing situation simply quit out of a game so failure won't show on their record and a victory won't show up on yours. Bungie will gather a wealth of gameplay statistics from all those who play Halo Reach, including the frequency with which they unexpectedly quit out of games. While Bungie is being coy in the precise criteria for banning, they've boasted that if you're a persistent griefer, you will be removed from the population.
Good game!
The Good Game inbox has had an influx of emails asking us to check out the free downloadable game Alien Swam, so it is our pleasure to please. Hex, take the review away!
Alien Swam is a top-down shooter in which you'll team up with 3 other space marines and work your way through a series of levels and battle, well, as the game promises, swarms of aliens. This game actually started as a source mod, the developers of which also worked on Left 4 Dead 2, and you'll start to notice those similarities with the waves of monsters from every angle style gameplay, among other things.
Yeah, like the lobby system. It's very easy to join and just play with other random players, or create your own lobby and play with 3 other buddies in what are essentially objective-based missions. There's a minimap that makes it easy for players to mark out objectives so you can plot your way through the level as efficiently as possible.
There's 6 official missions to play through and 4 different classes. You have your officer, your heavy weapons specialist, medic and a technician. As you'd expect, you'll require a good balance of these classes in order to survive. Mostly I stuck with the weapons specialist because you get all the cool guns, but I also gave the medic a good run because I usually suck at healing classes and I want to get my skills up. And I have to say it's quite fun running around with that healing gun and being everyone's knight in shining armor and saving them from within inches of death.
Each of these classes have 2 character models, and each of these have their own strengths and weaknesses for that particular class.
Gameplay on the whole is good, solid fun, and I have to say it's quite addictive. The clicky, spammy nature of it just makes you want to go in guns blazing, especially with those swarms of aliens coming at you from every angle, but you do have to be quite tactical and conserve ammo where possible if you want to make it through the level. Those aliens will keep coming, so sometimes you really need to just keep pushing through the level and not hang around to wipe out every last one.
Doors can be welded behind you to keep the baddies at bay, but often the action is so frantic that you don't really want to mess around with welding while your team is keen to keep pushing through the horde. I like this game, Hex. It's just so manic. I also liked activating adrenaline in the middle of gameplay too, which slows everything down to a kind of bullet time. Slow motion commando rolls.
Yeah, my first go jumping in at this game, I just jumped in at level 1 with randoms.
Oh my god, no! Can't be. I take it that you're Hex from Boot Game. It's nice, finally amazing to meet you.
It's pretty easy to get the hang of it. Work together, keep your teammates healed when they're infected or hit, and basically just try to stay alive for as long as possible. You really need to get a good group together for the glory of co-op to work, though. At one point, I appeared to be playing with Peter Garrett. Peter, if that really was you seriously pwned some aliens, man. Respect.
Yeah, it's much nicer playing with friends, especially because, you know, when you play online, there's always some noob that screws it up. And when you play with friends, you know who that noob is and you can berate them later. You get weapons throughout this game by completing levels and leveling up. There's also an RPG element to it where you get XP as you complete objectives, and you get weapons that way too.
On normal difficulty, this game still offers some decent challenge, and aliens will still do a fair bit of damage. On hard and insane difficulties, there's virtually no respite from the hordes of aliens. Which is really quite awesome to take on with your mates. When you die, you still get to watch the remainder of the mission play out, and it's always great when everyone in your team has been wiped out except for one lone dude, and you're all just watching him there going, come on, you can make it through.
You really can't go wrong with a free game, especially one that's as good as this. Of course, it could be a big plan by Steam to take over the world in some sort of evil domination, I don't know. But either way, I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Badge, I loved it. If you're after some great challenging co-op with mates, then you'll love this too. It's 8.5 from me.
You know, there's a game that I bought. I bought Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I bought the strategy guide for it.
I'm on a mission and my mission won't stop until I get the one who maxing at the top.
I bought them on the day that it came out, and to this day it's still in the shrink wrapped, and I haven't even opened it yet because I've always been busy finishing a game.
Scorpion wins. Harakiri.
I'm almost proud of that, but it's kind of pathetic at the same time.
Good game.
Disciples 3 Renaissance is a game that takes the basic plot of Neil Gaiman's Stardust and mashes it with the Inquisition.
Spanish Inquisition?
What?
Never mind. The game has 3 campaigns which all take place in the world of Nevendar. The human campaign sees players take on the role of Lambert, a lord charged with protecting a fallen star/prophet named Inoel from the elves and demons that fight for control of the world, as well as from the Inquisition.
The campaigns are broken up into levels, each of which feature one main quest and a handful of optional side quests.
Optional or storyline quests, they all are pretty much the same thing. They send you somewhere to fight something.
Each stage features an open world map that the player can explore to find treasure, get quests, and gather resources. There are nodes dotted around each map that can be claimed to supply a set number of resources a turn. After gathering enough stones, gold, and mana, players can construct new buildings in their home city. Mage towers enable players to learn and cast spells, and temples heal troops if you supply them with enough gold.
You can also build special training areas for your party members, allowing them to evolve as they gain extra XP. With enough experience, a simple squire can become an angel, or an apprentice wizard can become a wizard with a bigger beard. Experience comes through combat, and you'll be doing a lot of that.
Battles are played out on hex grid maps. Each unit has a certain number of movement points to get around and one or more skills they can use when they get there. Dotted around most maps are strategic points that increase melee, ranged or magic power. Claiming these spots is often the key to a swift battle.
Claiming those spots is often the only real strategic element to any battle. Most units have so few active abilities that most battles come down to you having your units run up to the enemy and hit them with the same attack each turn while a priest heals everyone. Things don't get that much more interesting when you level up your troops. They may get extra abilities, but it's really just movement and damage based.
Occasionally you'll come across battles in which the enemy is resistant to either magical or physical damage, but these battles aren't really that much more difficult, they're just more time consuming.
Yeah, there's no real difficulty curve here. It's either incredibly easy or super hard, so you just have to go away and grind a few more levels for your troops.
There is something strangely satisfying in seeing your damage increase as you gain levels, but tactical battles just don't develop in any kind of meaningful way. You just keep using the same ability over and over again. Boring.
The main characters in each campaign can be upgraded RPG style, and you pick which stats you want to put in, but mostly you'll be spending all your points on just trivial upgrades to reach those active spells that are actually useful. It's just so bloated.
Every now and again you'll come across an item that your character can use, but these item drops are all really scripted, so it just really feels like a dull inevitability as opposed to a reward.
In its lust for power, the Holy Inquisition considered Inowell's appearance a threat and accused her of heresy.
The voice acting is one of the more amusing parts of the game.
The narration at the beginning of each stage is strangely conversational.
He ordered Lambert to accompany Inowell wherever she would go.
But the real fun comes from the battle dialogue.
Yeah, for some reason half the units feel the need to call out their own name before they go into battle. I mean, you can kind of understand Lambert doing it, but Goblin?
Goblin. Goblin.
I'm more taken with the bizarrely flat tones of the Inquisitor.
I will cleanse all heresy with fire. In the name of the Lord.
It's not a particularly good-looking game. Some of the animations and models are okay, but it has a weird effect on people. As people were walking past us playing this, they would kind of stop and go, oh, that looks pretty, and then they'd come up and their face would just flip and they'd be disappointed. Disappointed face.
It's a really hard one to score badge. I mean, it's so easy to rag on a game that's terrible or praise one that's great, but what do you say about one that's so spectacularly average? I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this game wasn't entirely boring and give it a 5.
I agree, there is some grindy fun to be had here, but it is a powerfully average game. I'm giving it 5 out of 10 as well.
Powerfully average.
Good game.
Evil dictators aren't just found in history books and international politics, they're also one of the most prominent examples of video game villainy. The following overbearing overlords are some of gaming's most ruthless rulers, and they'll stop at nothing in their quest for world domination. Starting with number 5! Conquered you, conquered you. Who hasn't conquered you? You're next. When it comes to commanding and conquering, very few video game dictators can measure up to the bald-headed brilliance of Kane.
I found you people in mud huts. You were living in caves.
The ruthless ruler presides over the Brotherhood of Nod, a decentralized nation-state with plans for expansion and world domination in Westwood Studios' Command and Conquer series. The role of Kane is played by actor Joseph Kukin, who has personified the dictator in the full-motion video cutscenes of every Command & Conquer game since 1995.
I shall be watching.
Kukin shaped Kane into a brutal and merciless leader, as his very first appearance in the Command & Conquer series clearly illustrated.
This is the Pentagon. A full frontal attack with your strongest forces should render their military center of operation.
I am Kane.
Quite a mind-blowing entrance, if I do say so myself, but one that's fitting for gaming's 5th greatest dictator of all time.
You can't kill the Messiah.
Number 4 on our definitive list of diabolical digital dictators is this guy. Kefka from Final Fantasy VI on the Super Nintendo ticks every box required for a maniacal dictator. For starters, his fashion sense is something that only the sick mind of a demented genius could think of. It's a combination of an evil clown's makeup and the clothes of a slightly unbalanced court jester. He's totally off his rocker on the inside too.
Destruction without death? Boring!
Kefka is less concerned with total world domination and more concerned with total world destruction. This hateful harlequin is a nihilist who believes that life has no meaning or importance. And as a result, he's decided to use his mastery of magic to wipe all life from the face of the earth. Accompanied by his trademark shrill laugh, this villain is one of the craziest dictators gaming has to offer. When it comes to evil dictators, there don't come much more evil or dictatory than Mecha Hitler. The despicable dictator and his unmistakable miniature mustache were the final boss in id Software's Wolfenstein 3D, the great-grandpappy of the first-person shooter genre. Wolf 3D's Hitler did have one important difference to reality, though. He was a frickin' huge robot with machine guns for arms. Mecha Hitler harnessed all the technology of imperialist Germany to build himself a robot body, capable of withstanding hundreds of rounds blasted out of your giant chain gun. But even the best defenses couldn't hold off Mecha Hitler's inevitable downfall. And when Android Adolf finally bit the big one, we got to see it all over again in instant replay. Death Cam. Our next dictator began his career as a normal walking, talking tentacle until one fateful incident drove him insane with power lust.
I'm thirsty. I feel like I could. Like I could. Take on the world.
LucasArts' 1992 adventure game Day of the Tentacle saw Purple Tentacle attempting to take over the world by using a combination of time travel and self-cloning. In the future, Purple Tentacle has assumed control of the world, and he has decreed that all humans are to be kept as pets. Purple rules the future with an iron tentacle, making him our weirdest dictator yet. Psycho Crusher! That's right, my loyal subjects. The best gaming dictator of all time is M. Bison. The psycho-powered ruler of Shadaloo, Bison is the ultimate gaming dictator, not just because of his intimidating looks, but because of his punishing physical strength and super turbo arrogance.
This place shall become your grave!
But what really made Bison the most devious dictator in all gaming history was this delicious portrayal by Raul Julia in the So Bad It's Good movie adaptation Street Fighter, the movie.
For you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Bison doesn't even need to command an army because his psycho power is so potent he can wage war on anyone he wants and win all by himself.
Game over!
Oh, Bison, you are truly irrepressible. But remember, kids, evil dictatorships are nothing to admire. Just be glad these guys are only in charge of your games and not your country.
Good game!
StarCraft II Wings of Liberty is the first in the StarCraft II trilogy, and it focuses on the Terran campaign. And at first, I gotta admit, we're a bit miffed that it was just gonna be about the Terran, but you can see why they've done that here, and it's to build a compelling single-player story and to really kind of flesh out that single-player campaign.
I think RTS always struggles with story a bit because it must be hard to tell a single-person story when the gameplay doesn't involve that character specifically.
Yeah.
Between missions, you'll have all these little moments on the ship where you'll get to talk to people, click on news channels, and have a go of a pretty fun arcade game and also upgrade your units.
How snarky is that field reporter, though?
In other words, the general dodged the question.
How much of a jerk is that anchor?
Civilian.
Now, Kate, we can't second guess our boys in the field, can we?
I sense some history. Anyway, you play as Jim Raynor, the people's hero, a drunk and a rather dopey-looking rebel with a conflicted past. The Queen of Blades, his former comrade turned Zerg leader, is on a mission to wipe out humanity.
The galaxy will burn. They're coming.
But all is not as it seems. Or is it? No, it's not. as it seems.
There are a few beautiful cutscenes sprinkled throughout. But the mission bookend cutscenes are a bit hit and miss. Some of the faces that the characters pull are a bit...
What I liked most about the single-player campaign, Hex, was just all the upgrading of your units. As you progress, you'll earn cash and also collect Zerg and Protoss DNA, which you can then use to give extra abilities to your units to use out on the field. And you really feel those differences, and it makes the play kind of different each time you do it, and you really need them on the harder difficulty.
You can hire mercs too, which are tougher units that can instantly be deployed in the battlefield after a certain time. When you jump into multiplayer, you really miss all those extras, but I think the single player is just about variety. Missions will see you escorting tough elites, using mining lasers to wipe out tough foes, defending bases in a day and night cycle, where zombie Zergs only come out at night.
That virophage structure is spreading the Zerg virus to the colonists.
Some super cool commando missions that focus on avoiding radar, and a planet-going supernova with a slowly creeping fire wave to stress you out. It's not just build up a base and then destroy your opponent's base.
Yeah, so many RTS games are like that, or they end up like that towards the end of the campaign, but they really try to flesh it out here. You want to play this on hard though, especially if you've played much RTS before, because normal is just super easy and you can beat it in about 11 hours. Playing on hard will really make you think about smart combinations of units and build order priorities, and it'll just make it for a more rewarding experience. And it's dynamic difficulty anyway, so if you get stuck in a tough point, you can just change it then.
RTS is one of those genres that often intimidates people, I think, Bajo, but this game has a really good tutorial system, and it also does a really good job of helping you out if you forget what your mission objectives are. It also teaches you how to use the single-player units tactically, but not in a do this once and now repeat kind of way, but a subtle self-discovery of unit abilities and strengths.
I like the Protoss flashback missions, Hex. It sees you commanding everything from one commando to a whole huge army, and I was quite surprised it didn't frame up at all for me.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. You do need to play it on a decent PC though, and it's important to get your graphics settings right, because if you go online and frame up, then you'll slow everyone else down.
Yeah, and the game totally dobs you in too if you're lagging everyone out.
Single player doesn't teach you how to go online though, besides being familiar with a few of the Terran and Protoss buildings and units. Online is another beast entirely, and many of the units and upgrades you get in the campaign aren't there. Multiplayer is all about having a fair, balanced fight with different units.
There's a reason why the first StarCraft was so successful and why it's still played all around the world, and it's because Blizzard spent so much time getting that balance right between the factions.
Yeah, it comes down to your skill as a player and your knowledge of the units and their counters, rather than just which faction you choose.
It's early days for the life cycle of this game, but it feels like they got the balance pretty right, and that's, I guess, mainly due to the extensive beta that they ran this year.
When you first log in and skip past the practice league, you'll face a series of rounds to test your might and be placed in a league accordingly, so you're not going up against pros straight away.
The challenge modes are really what will prepare you for online. They're basically a series of trials for each particular faction, and they give you an idea of what counters what, but it also gives you the time to figure that out for yourself and then help you if you can't work it out.
Yeah, they were super helpful, but you probably will still die a lot, especially since StarCraft II has many more ways to streamline micromanagement than the original, so this means that more people can get better at it faster.
Yeah, I think the best examples are the rally point system and the multiple building selects. Rally points are so good here. You can auto-assign buildings to send your completed units to fill up a bunch of bunkers and then go escort another unit in the field if they're full, or set up a bunch of buildings to output a whole bunch of units into the field. This way your army will just keep on growing without you having to whip back and forth all the time to tell your new units where to go.
The doctor is in.
It's all very intuitive, and shift-click is your friend.
There's such a joy in rocking up to an opponent's base and prioritizing which parts you want to take down first. When you know you're going to roll someone else's base, it's just such a good feeling.
It was tough to admit that my carefully thought-out fly-base attack maneuver wasn't quite panning out the way I thought it would.
Is that the one where you just give up and land your base behind theirs?
Yeah. And if online does feel a bit daunting, then just grab a friend and try some co-op versus the AI, and then just keep bumping up that difficulty until you feel confident.
Yeah, I mean, co-op versus AI is still heaps of fun anyway, and at least it's less demoralizing if you get thrashed.
Blame it on the code.
Custom maps and mods are a big part of StarCraft, and they're often more popular than the official Blizzard ones. For many, designing custom maps are the whole reason they play this game. Have you made any custom maps yet, though?
No, I've been way too busy getting smashed online.
Are you in the lowest league?
Yeah, that's where all the cool kids are. You know, the GT team, we've all been playing online since the game came out, and we keep getting owned, but it makes us want to get better at it. And I think it's because of the purity of the rock, paper, scissors here. You don't feel like you're being cheated, and you want to work out those strategies, and you want to challenge yourself and get better at this game. It's like any sport, really.
I don't know, I thought our epic flood of siege tank strat showed some potential.
Yes, well, once we got the battle cruisers up and going, and there really is nothing more obnoxious than 20 battle cruisers rolling into an opponent's base.
We had a few voice chat problems at first. Just make sure you've got your router ports forwarding correctly and you should be okay. Good news is that Aussies can play on Southeast Asian or North American BattleNet servers now, but the game is pretty unplayable with lag. Now, this is a long-awaited sequel and it will keep the hardcore StarCraft fans happy, but if you've never played an RTS before, then this is the one that's going to get you hooked, because no matter what level of gamer you are, well, there's going to be something for you here. It's 9.5 from me.
Yeah, it's just got everything. Compelling single-player, cooperative multiplayer, competitive multiplayer. You just can't go wrong. I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
The end comes, and when it finds me, I shall embrace it at last.
Good game!
And so, could you give a name to the game this week?
I regained consciousness in chains.
It was Sea Dogs, a PC role-playing game set on the high seas from the year 2000. It was developed by the Russian studio Akela, the very same peeps behind Disciples 3 Renaissance.
And how may I be of service?
On the show next week, games, games, and games.
Could you be more specific?
Actually, yes, the latest Dragon Quest game, exotically subtitled Sentinels of the Starry Skies. It's for the DS.
Nice! We also bring you our top 5 gaming blades, and we play dress.
He who reads these ancient words will win the right to wield the sword.
What's a sword?
Yay! Thanks again for watching this show and joining the Facebook group and the forums.
And tweeting.
Oh, yes, and that. And don't forget, if you have younger gamers in your life, there is a show especially for them over on ABC3 at the weekend. It's called Good Games Spawn Point.
Until next week, gamers, may you always have enough minerals. Bajo out.
Hex out.
Did you clean up your toilet? Your phone after you dropped it in the toilet?
I didn't drop my phone in the toilet. I didn't drop my phone in the toilet. Can I just make that clear to everyone? That never happened. Told all of the thousands of people on Facebook, never happened. That was gross. That is gross.
It plopped in the toilet.